Wow. Um, yeah, damn, just damn is right. I uh I was planning on talking about this entire episode, but it's really kind of hard to talk about anything else besides this one thing that happened. So I couldn't believe it. I absolutely couldn't believe it. I could not believe it when I saw that. I literally I just said what? I couldn't believe it. I was like, wait a minute, it can't. This must be a trick, right? This must be some sort of, David Copperfield, a magic trick. And wow, the third episode, man. I mean, just getting into it right away. I mean, I guess he took his own life to so Gus Fring would forever protect his father. That's what he did because if he got away, he knew that the cartel or Gus or someone would go after his father, and that's why he did what he did. That's why he took his own life there. I mean, wow. I mean, talk about not what you were expecting at all. I mean, I was going to talk about the Jesse Pinkman parallels where, he suffered through so much, therefore, he had to ride off into the sunset. But my goodness, wow, I'm still, again, talk about not expecting. Wow, I did not expect that. That is quite the plot twist. When they said no matter what happens next, it's not going to go down the way you think it is. Talk about the understatement of the year. Nacho won, I guess, in a way where his father will be protected, I suppose, forever. Definitely that phone call seemed like the goodbye, the last time he would speak to his father for sure. That seemed like what it was like to me. So I know, Vince, it's only episode 3. Chill. I know. Goodness gracious. That was episode 3. Wow. I'm kind of at a loss. I don't know how I just, talk about this episode sequentially. I don't know how I break down, the cold opening scene. I mean, well, going back to the cold opening scene because it directly deals with the conclusion. I definitely thought that, akin to a lot of episodes of Breaking Bad where we see a very short snippet that ends up, directly dealing with the final scene. I think back to Grilled with Tuco's death, and I think back to Dead Freight with Drew Sharp's death. The very sort of ominous opening where I wonder what that meant. What's going on here? What is this? Yeah, I had no idea. Again, I'm kind of at a loss for words here. So yeah, definitely took his own life to save his father in the third episode. No wonder Nacho's storyline was so heavily focused in the first couple episodes because it was over in episode 3, and I thought I'm still trying to wrap my head around how what we just saw it wasn't what it looked like, but just seeing Mike walk away with the sort of tears in his eyes, I'm pretty sure you know I'm pretty sure it's pretty damn obvious. So wow, again, I'm speechless here. I really, how do I break down the rest of the? I mean, most of very little of the episode featured the Jimmy and Kim storyline. Lalo Salamanca didn't even appear in this episode again. 2 episodes in a row of no Lalo Salamanca. So again, yeah, I mean, along with this again, unbelievable ending that we saw in this episode. I mean, there was a lot of great scenes interjected with the Jimmy and Kim plot. I mean, that scene with a Huel, copying the car key, I thought that was just unbelievable. Another great Better Call Saul scene and, every sense of the definition. And then it just, everything takes a back seat to what happened at the end of this episode. So, yeah, I guess I can try to break down this entire episode, but it all really kind of culminates with that. So, how does Jimmy find out Ignacio is the one? Yeah, definitely, Jonathan. Again, talk about, oh, maybe we can sort of put this sort of puzzle together based on Saul Goodman's infamous dialogue in a plot of Breaking Bad. But, you know, again, I really should retire from trying to piece out the rest of the storyline in the remaining 10 episodes of this, series. I mean, because forget about it. I mean, impossible. So, yeah, so what is the proof he's looking for? Good point, man. I definitely was wrong about that. I definitely thought Nacho was the proof. Well, I guess he still could be looking for Nacho. I mean, we did see Lalo wearing that black tie formal wear. I have heard some people speculate that maybe he's in Germany or something to that effect. Something to do with the super lab, maybe being proof of Gus Fring's undermining of the cartel. But wow, Jimmy never has contact with Lalo or Nacho again. Going back and yeah, that's actually an interesting point. I mean, a whole sort of subplot in this episode was the entire story around the sort of Suzanne Erickson sort of figuring out that Jimmy was affiliated with the cartel when he's representing the with the whole Jorge de Guzman subplot. So did Mike know that Nacho was going to kill himself? I think so. I think the premise here is that he killed himself and took his own life so his father would never be implicated, I suppose. Maybe Gus Fring would forever protect his father, moving forward as long as, Gus was alive, he'll make sure no one goes after his father. I think that's what it is, Benito. I'm not really sure, though. I'm hurt. I'm truly hurt. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I can try to break down this entire episode, but I mean, I really, man, I really just, I don't know even where to begin. But anyway, I guess that was a pretty amazing cold opening scene for sure. Definitely not what I was expecting at all by any stretch of the imagination with where the story ended up going for Nacho at the end of this episode. But yeah, pretty unbelievable in my opinion. So, but yeah, I mean, getting into it, gonna try to pull up the rest of this episode here. I mean, I'm gonna try to break it down. I don't even know if it's possible, but I guess there's always the we can give the old college try. So as they say. The ending kind of pissed me off. Yeah, I didn't believe it. I was like, the third episode, man, talk about operatic as Michael Mandow said. Understatement again. Man, I remember going back and sort of, initially with the plot of Breaking Bad, I remember I found I didn't feel like it was sort of, you know, tragic enough, but wow, talk about a tragic figure with Nacho Varga. I mean, I don't even know really where to begin. So I guess there was no way out for Nacho. I guess he could have ran, Wesley. I mean, I think he could have ran, but his father would have been probably, they would have went after his father. He knew that. So if he ran, I'm pretty sure that's why, like, the only way out was for him would be to throw his father under the bus, essentially. At least that's what it seemed like to me. So how many episodes till we get to Jesse and Walter? You think? Who knows? Maybe it's the next one at this rate, after seeing this episode here, I mean, my goodness. So I've forgotten about Walt and Jesse now. I know, me too. I mean, just Mike's loyalty is pretty dark when you think about it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, really a sort of a real question in how far would Mike go? So glad. Yeah, that was a little bit surreal just seeing the cousins allow sort of the Hector Salamanca to sort of lay into Nacho, kind of give him the coup de grace when he was dead. So I know poor Nacho, he suffered even more than Jesse in Breaking Bad. I know it's quite a contrast, but I wanted Nacho to be. I mean, yeah, I thought for sure he was gonna make it out. I think a lot of people did, and to have his storyline basically end in the third episode of the final season. Wow, wow. I mean, that was an unbelievable scene too when he had to hide in that truck too when he escaped the cousins initially, you know. And in hindsight, initially, I thought, well, it was all for nothing. Everything he went through in the first three episodes was all for nothing. But I guess it wasn't true because it was all for to save his father. That was the sort of the premise of Nacho. So yeah, yeah, no vacuum guy. Yeah, I do wonder. That's Devonte. That's an interesting point. You do wonder if they changed the story because they no longer had Robert Forrester to portray the character. I don't know if anything has come out about that right now. I guess it's possible. Maybe they'll talk about it on the Insider podcast or something like that. But that's a good point, Devonte. No vacuum guy. So definitely an interesting point for sure. I mean, I guess trying to get into it here. I mean, I guess we can start talking a little bit about this episode. I mean, to I mean, after that cold opening scene would basically, displayed which, gave away the ending in hindsight. I mean, I definitely was, what does this all mean? I had no idea for sure, but talk about a twist. But I guess sort of getting into the episode initially, I mean, Act One, Scene One, sort of picking up with Nacho's storyline, and a pretty amazing scene of him hiding in that tanker truck for sure. I definitely think that was supposed to be sewage or gasoline. I mean, both would be pretty excruciatingly terrible to have to submerge your entire body in gasoline or sewage. Those would both be absolutely terrible. But definitely, the outsmarting of the Salamancas there, hiding in that sewer truck and able to get away to safety for sure after hanging in there for hours until nightfall. I mean, just an unbelievable opening scene there, and then basically to eventually for him to get to that service station and be able to clean up. And in hindsight, that call to his father was truly his last goodbye to his father. Pretty dark and pretty deep there for sure. I mean, you saw just the emotion on Nacho's face. I mean, I thought it would be his last phone call to him, before he, maybe got away. But to just in hindsight to know it was his last phone call before his own death, I mean, just absolutely crazy in my opinion. Yeah, that pretty much sums up, the first act here was basically entirely dedicated to Nacho with him escaping the Salamanca as a continuation of the storyline last time, and also the phone call. Also, yeah, it also picks up with the call back to it picks up with a continuation of the phone call we didn't get to see conclude in the previous episode where Nacho talked to Mike and then he talked to Gus. So kind of interesting, an interesting playing of time here in the first act as well. So you know, definitely, yeah, it's absolutely just crazy. So again, really, I mean, I definitely noticed. I'm like, wow, this episode is really heavily dedicated to Nacho Varga, and in hindsight, definitely makes sense. The whole first, three episodes. So, I mean, maybe we could see flashbacks to Nacho. I think it's possible in the remaining 10 episodes. I don't know. I doubt we won't see him anymore in the last 10 episodes. Maybe we'll see some flashbacks or something to that effect. I don't know. I mean, my God, I should really just stop speculating here. I think everyone should stop speculating on what's going to happen this season because no one knows what the heck they're talking about. And I don't think anyone saw this coming in the third. Maybe they saw this coming his episode. I mean, come on. I don't think anyone saw that coming. So yeah, that pretty much sums up Act One, and then, I mean, I almost feel like I almost feel wrong talking about the subplot here with Jimmy and Kim. It was a great storyline for sure. There were some amazing scenes here, and with the benefit of hindsight, like I said, spoiler alert to anyone who hasn't seen that, you know, leaked footage. But I think we all know where this storyline is going. If you saw that behind the scenes footage of Jimmy at the Crystal Palace dressed as Howard Hamlin. So, if people have, I think we know what they're trying to do here with sort of, further undermining Howard Hamlin's character with making it look like he uses cocaine and also likely making him look like he solicits prostitution with the whole plot that happens with this car here. Again, that's where this sort of episodes, this first scene in Act One sort of sets up that subplot here in the storyline. They have the sort of whole plan behind the painting, which we also saw in the cold opening scene of the first episode of season 6. So definitely seems like to be the plan here for sure. I definitely also liked. I think it was the first iteration we've scene of Saul Goodman wearing cufflinks, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was a pretty subtle shot right there, but I think it was definitely meant to display that. He definitely wore cufflinks all throughout the course of Breaking Bad, I feel, but we haven't seen him wear them over the course of Better Call Saul. So, kind of a very interesting, subtle thing there. And the next scene was sort of Suzanne Erickson, speaking to Kim Wexler about, the Albuquerque district attorney's office sort of putting the whole thing together, how Lalo is not who he says he is, and he was not Jorge de Guzman. He's actually Lalo Salamanca. Again, I'm not too familiar with the sort of whole legal rules and everything, but her basically saying if he lied about who he was, then the sort of lawyer client confidentiality doesn't apply, and he can sort of tell the DA's office what he knows. Again, to sort of get ahead of myself here, the storyline ends up picking up at the end of this episode with the subplot of Jimmy and Kim about whether or not Saul wants to be a friend of the cartel or be a rat. So yeah, definitely curious to see someone made that comment earlier about how about Saul saying it wasn't me, it was Ignacio in season 2 of Breaking Bad, and now with Ignacio dead and he's never going to see him again, you do wonder what happened and what Saul thought was happening when Walt and Jesse kidnapped him and he thought it was the cartel. You do wonder what the backstory is now. Again, it seems so obvious in my opinion. Hindsight is like, oh, come on, we all know what's going to happen here. We can put 2 and 2 together, but after this episode, how is that even possible? So yeah. Pretty interesting scene here about, with the DA, sort of even the scene of Kim saying his name is Saul now. People still referring to him as Jimmy, but of course, all throughout the course of Breaking Bad, everyone called him Saul, even Mike Ehrmantraut. And it's this again. I'm not actually speechless because I've been rambling on here for like almost 20 minutes, but wow, I am shocked. I am shocked. And then, yeah, so following this, again, in just a sort of another sort of exemplification of the incredible pacing of this season, in the very next scene of this act, we see the Los Pollos Hermanos distribution center, and we see that Mike was able to get Nacho back to the United States from Mexico, being able to smuggle him through the Los Pollos Hermanos refrigerator truck. And again, we'll never see how that happened. We'll never see the sort of series of events that it took to sort of make Mike able to go down to Mexico and do that. I feel like in the past of Better Call Saul, that would have been a whole season right there, smuggling Nacho back to the United States. But with just the incredible nature of the necessity of the pacing of this season, we didn't see how that happened. And I'm definitely also thinking now we're not going to see exactly how Lalo killed that man and charred his corpse. I think it's all just sort of implied here. A lot of the story is just implied, and we're not going to see the sort of step-by-step continuation of every single detail this season, it looks like to me. But who knows, with the caveat of I could be wrong, because again, after this episode, what's the point in speculating? Seriously. So yeah, pretty amazing. Okay, also before I move on to the Nacho Vargas scene, again, a quick callback. There were a couple callbacks here in this episode with Kim saying that she remembers that Suzanne called her husband now a scumbag, in the whole sort of burner phones storyline that was happening in season 4 of Better Call Saul with prosecuting Huel Babineau for a battery on a police officer. So there's a callback there, and also in the continuation of the next scene with Victor after Mike smuggles Nacho back to the United States, saying the boss says he looks too pretty because they want to make it look like they caught him and they made him talk. And later in this episode, another callback to season 4 of Better Call Saul as well, where Nacho is shot in the in the abdomen by Tyrus, and he says to him, "Got to make it look real." So Nacho says that here too, where he's like, "Got to make it look real," understanding that he's going to be used as a pawn here, and he can't be all pretty like that because it will look like he's in on the scam, as opposed to Gus having his men just beat the information out of him. So, yeah, unbelievable. Definitely also very sort of, I don't even know what the word is here, a very sort of touching scene, I guess. The sort of, the drink that Nacho has with Mike. I think Mike understanding what's going to happen here as well. Them sort of having one last drink together. Wow, damn. What Mike did the sort of the people were saying in the comments earlier, the loyalties he has to Gus here is just unreal. So yeah, that last drink they had together at the end of Act Two was just quite the in hindsight, you just think, oh, they're just gonna have a drink before they just go about their next ruse here, and you know, things will eventually get back to normal. And Nacho will escape somehow. So if I'm not mistaken, didn't Nacho say something about didn't Mike say something to him about running like hell as part of that scene? Like, wasn't there something about running like hell? I mean, I just watched. I'll have to go back and watch that for sure. But was this initially the plan, or did Nacho just take his own life here on his own accord? Again, I'll have to watch this for sure. But again, the exact series of the dialogue after just one watch. But I mean, I'm still in shock here for sure. He was going to make Tyrus shoot him, I think, instead of taking his own life. When he told Hector he was, yeah, that was great when he told off Hector for sure. Yeah, Nacho was supposed to run and get shot by one of Gus Fring's guys, but he just took his own life instead. So Mike was going to shoot him if they planned to torture him. Yeah, I think he definitely that had something to do with it. So I think Nacho was supposed to run and not kill himself. Yeah, Justin, that's another thing I was wondering too. I mean, I don't know if this was I still don't know what happened here. I mean, again, I'll have to watch this again for sure. I don't know. Yeah, again, it's a little bit confusing. Victor was supposed to shoot him. Again, I'll have to go back and listen to that dialogue. So Victor was supposed to shoot him in the back. I mean, yeah, Hector knew the truth. So, but again, I mean, I guess that was the whole point of Nacho basically, for sure making it look like Gus Fring had nothing to do with it because he wanted absolute insurance that his father would be taken care of for the rest of his life and no one would mess with him. So I think that's why Nacho really tried to, tell off Gus Fring and to really protect his father because I guess that's the sort of the plot here, the storyline for sure. It was he took his own life to protect his father. So why did he hold up Bolsa? I don't know, to maybe make it look real or something like that. The Sobieski, I can't say that name. Sorry. Uh, Sobieski. I mean, maybe to make it look real, and then kind of realizing that he absolutely had no way out. Then it looked more impromptu. Then the sort of the first taking him hostage, and then the shot to the head maybe looked more impromptu after that. I'm not sure, but both Chuck and Nacho committed suicide. It does appear that way, Joseph. Mike was supposed to kill him to get the suspicion off of Gus. I guess, but he was so far away, and they would have wondered where that bullet came from. If that sort of shot in the distance. So Michael Mandow needs an enemy. Again, I'm not too well versed in the television awards, but I mean that was some good acting for sure. I'll say that. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, to think the story of Nacho Varga culminated in the third episode of season 6. I don't think I'm not a betting man, but talk about if you saw those odds. I mean, my God, who would take that bet? What episode will Nacho die in? I mean, it would be what, like 1,000 to 1 the first couple episodes. I feel like no one saw that coming. So I know it's pretty. People kind of speculating here on the sort of the introspection surrounding his death. Pretty dark, sort of speculation here. But I mean, that was the story. So I think not. Yeah, I don't know if I swear I thought there was some sort of ruse here where they were going to fake Nacho's death or something like along those lines, where there was going to be some intricate plan where they faked his death, but didn't there was that scene though with Tyrus saying, turn around. Oh, that was the zip tie. Never mind. He zip tied his hands. Never mind. I know I'm putting on my tinfoil hat here. I still almost don't believe the fact what we just saw. I still don't believe. I saw it with my own eyes, but I just don't believe it. And that last look that Mike gave when he was walking away with the just sort of tears in his eyes and the emotion that I don't think there's any debate about it. I mean, yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the death of Gil Bedecker. Not really, but in the sense that I remember at the end of season 3 of Breaking Bad, there were a lot of people online speculating, oh, did Jesse pull the gun away because it wasn't like outwardly, it wasn't clear. It's sort of when he pulled the trigger, it cut to black. But I'm pretty damn sure what we just saw is what we just saw. So, whoo, man. Yeah, Marion, it really was the only way to protect his father, I think for sure. I think that was the premise for sure. So, yeah, damn, I know that's a good point. Fakade Games again, two deaths of people that Mike really respected that had happened right in front of him with him having to kill Werder for what he did for Gus Fring, and then having to see Nacho die like that. I mean, talk about what Mike was willing to put himself through to apparently support his family. I mean, wow. I mean, the darkness and the sort of the backstory of what Kaylee's grandfather was doing this whole time to support them is just wow. In hindsight, I mean, wow. I mean, the story of Mike just keeps getting darker and darker. I mean, the nuance and the complexity and the layers. I mean, this just blows it out of proportion to me. So, I mean, I guess getting back into this episode a little bit. I mean, getting into Act 3, the sort of subplot here, definitely speaking with what happened with Jimmy and Kim and Howard. I mean, great scene here. I mean, it's a shame this scene really kind of gets lost in the whole episode because of the ending. But I mean, great scene here with the scam they pulled, with the car keys, getting a copy of Howard's Jaguar keys, with Huel being the pickpocket and having a key master, I guess, make an identical copy of Howard's keys in time before the valet gets back. I mean, great scene here. Again, things seem to be going absolutely according to plan, more or less, for Jimmy and Kim. I mean, there was the one wrinkle here that happens with Kim's realization when Suzanne Erickson tells her about the sort of acknowledgement that Jimmy's involvement with people like Ignacio Varga and Tugo Salamanca and Lalo Salamanca, all known connections, is very suspicious to the Albuquerque DA office. So, but yeah, this is a great scene here for sure with the keys getting copied. And another great scene here too kind of reminds me back to that teaser about it was never all about the money, and Huel just kind of saying like, why are you doing all this? Like, you're a lawyer, your wife's a lawyer, you guys make legitimate money. I mean, you're not like super duper wealthy, but you probably make a very comfortable living. You have a legit means of gainful employment. You're doing better than most Americans by far. Why are you doing what you're doing? And Saul, of course, saying, "Oh, you're not seeing the big picture here." Sort of, playing the sort of, or kind of buying into the argument that Kim Wexler made at the end of season 5 of Better Call Saul, with how what they're doing by tearing down Howard Hamlin is going to benefit lots of people because of her intention to open up a pro bono practice that would otherwise give low level poor criminals, I suppose, a defense attorney that only millionaires could buy. So the ends justifying the means here. But a very interesting scene with Fuel Babineau sort of saying, why are you doing all this? And Fuel saying, all right, if you say so, sort of almost not even buying, Saul's, salesman spiel here about how, why are we pulling the scam here, with when you have a light, why are you risking so do this? I mean, it just doesn't make that from Huel's perspective, it seems that's the case. But and again, continuing with the subplot, which feels almost wrong compared based on what happened at the end of this episode. But yeah, anyway, getting into it, the next continuation scene of Jimmy going back to his apartment with Kim, and he's very happy. Very happy. Everything seems to be going according to plan. He has the copy of the key. Of course, it's then revealed to him by Kim Wexler the information that Suzanne Erickson told her about how the DA's office wants Jimmy, aka Saul, to rat on Lalo, saying that it's the right thing to do. He lied to you, so there is no lawyer-client confidentiality because his name isn't Jorge de Guzman. Let's make it so, you don't implicate yourself and you sort of clear your name. And Jimmy even sort of thinking to himself, it's the right thing to do. But of course, Kim with the sort of, you know, the kicker here about, do you want to be a friend of the cartel or do you want to be a rat? Sort of saying, you probably shouldn't comply here. At least that's what it seems like to me, my reading of Kim Wexler's dialogue here. And yeah, so I definitely don't think that Saul's going to comply. At least it doesn't look like. And again, I feel kind of bad, kind of focusing on the subplot. But I guess we're going to get a lot more of Jimmy and Kim in the remaining 10 episodes, with Nacho Varga no longer being in the picture. So And then following this, the final scene of Act 3 then continues with the Nacho Vargas storyline. Again, we hear the sort of dialogue here that I talked about earlier about, you know, whether or not this was all part of the plan, whether or not Nacho did exactly what he was supposed to do, by taking his own life here. Again, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this dialogue. But Mike's saying he wants to go to the meeting as well. Of course, Gus saying that you can't. The Salamancas know you can't be there. He's of course saying he's not going to be anywhere close, and it's true. And we know based on the backstory of Breaking Bad that the Salamancas never find out that Mike is working for Gus Fring. At least that's according to the canon of Breaking Bad. That's the case. So yeah, that pretty much culminates Act 3 here with the sort of the setup scene of what is to come at the end of this episode. And yeah, just I'll have to go back and listen to the dialogue one more time here. But yeah, I mean, so depressing. Do I really want to keep watching Donna? I know. I mean, of course I will keep watching it, but I mean, my goodness, talk about a plot twist. I mean, I feel like there are not a lot of plot twists. I mean, there haven't been a ton of plot twists that come to mind, like true like M Night Shyamalan esque plot twists. But this one here at the end of this episode definitely didn't see it coming. So didn't mention Tuco. Yeah, I guess yeah. Did she didn't mention him about the Tuco connection, but I definitely think it's the whole. It's about just the cartel in general, Nick. I think for sure. So yeah, for sure, Jake. That was the final goodbye to his father. It seems like for sure. I still don't get why Gus said Bolsa was behind the desert ambush. Wait, what? Did I miss that? Why did Nacho kill? Jeez, Justin Cruz. Why did Nacho kill himself? I mean, maybe talking about Nacho's death. I mean, my goodness gracious, yeah. It's definitely not a video I thought I'd be making this early, but yeah, dude. As of now, I have no more theories. Tin Omen, yeah. Like I said, I really feel like people should just give up speculating from now on. I mean, who knows? Vacuum for Kim. Damn, I really feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I mean, I feel like the body still isn't even cold yet. I mean, I feel like I still got to focus on the Nacho Vargas storyline. I'm just kidding, Nick, but yeah, you know, or excuse me, that was one show. Sorry about that. Yeah, yeah, held up Bolsa so that he could shoot himself. Yeah, I definitely think he went on his own terms there for sure. I definitely think that was. I think that had a lot to do with the final scene. I'll definitely have some. I'll have to ruminate on it a bit more before I make a video about it. But wow. Well, here was our Ozymandias kickflip. Yeah, I mean, pretty early in the third episode, not in the third to last episode. So, quite the change of pace for Better Call Saul to Breaking Bad. So, I know will Lalo even show up again in the first 7 seasons standard data? I know he's been absent for the last 2 episodes. Definitely didn't see that coming as well. So, when did Gus break the glass? Yeah, that definitely had. Again, I guess the glass is how he cut the zip tie. I suppose that's how he cut his zip tie, but when did he get that glass? Was it the trash can after drinking whiskey? Again, I'm not sure. I'll definitely have to go back and rewatch. I mean, it was only the first watch of it, so I'll definitely have to go back and watch it again. But yeah, Chris, yeah, shock as well. I agree for sure. But anyway, I guess I mean I've been talking about it the whole review here, but I guess getting into the final act of this episode, the very last scene. I mean, of course, after Nacho sort of has that moment of introspection, I suppose, realizing what he's about to do at the end of Act 3, and getting into that final meeting between the cartel. When those images were displayed to us that I was talking about yesterday in that stream, I definitely did not think that this was going to be what they were talking about in this at the end of this episode. But wow, I mean, again, I guess to sort of unpack it, I mean, one last time, they drive Nacho to that meeting. They of course drop Mike off, around that rock, the rock in the hard place. They sort of drop him off there to sort of take a look through his viewfinder in his viewfinder, is that the right word, or scope, excuse me, through his rifle. But yeah, the premise of the last meeting, it appears, was that Gus made it look like he and his men were able to go down to Mexico and capture Nacho and get him to talk and say, who was behind the hit on Lalo Salamanca, of course, not implicating Gus Fring. And the premise was, by not implicating Gus Fring and by going about this spiel to Juan Bolsa in the cartel, then Gus Fring, and with the affirmation of Mike as well, that no, my father will be protected. So that was the premise here for sure. And so when the meeting finally happens, Juan Bolsa saying, "You're going to die today, but there are good deaths and bad deaths." Saying, "Tell me who you're working for." Again, we see Nacho. It takes him a minute or two. Again, no idea what's going through his head at this point in time. Giving some glances to Gus Fring, wondering if he's going to, again, he can't implicate him here because he's already dead, essentially, and if he implicates Gus, then his father is a dead man as well. So I guess in hindsight, I feel like that wasn't going to happen, but eventually Nacho tells everything. He tells Juan Bolsa, the thing about, I believe, Alvarez and the Peruvians, I believe, making up the story on behalf of Gus Fring. And then finally also telling off Hector Salamanca about how he was the one who switched the heart medication. And he's the reason that he put him in that chair, yeah, just unreal. Of course, telling him off, going out on his own terms. Didn't die on his knees, I suppose. I mean, you could look at it that way as well. I mean, it's kind of dark, but it's true. And yeah, I guess he could have killed Bolsa. I guess he could have killed Bolsa and himself, but we know he couldn't do that based on the backstory of Breaking Bad. And I think Gus would have been upset as well. And I mean, the whole premise of the scene was for Nacho to make it look abundantly clear that Gus Fring wasn't involved at all. Of course, everyone it's pretty clear that the cousins don't know that Lalo was still alive. It's only Hector, and it's only Gus Fring, and likely his men as well. So we saw Hector fingering Gus Fring, pointing at him with his after dinging his bell. So that was the premise here, and then wasn't expecting this. I thought for sure Nacho. Oh, of course Nacho's going to get away somehow, right? I mean, it's sort of like, but again, I feel like it would have been a little bit at this point when I feel like they had written. I know it was intentional, but just as an audience, as a member of the audience viewing this, when they're written so into a corner at like this, I'm like, if Nacho gets away here, it almost seemed just like too unrealistic. I mean, akin to some sort of cheesy action movie where it just unbelievably unrealistic. The main character, the supporting protagonist, in a terrible situation, he gets out of it. I mean, it just seemed very realistic what happened here based on what they wrote in this episode. And again, with just me not believing, me just saying, "What did that just happen?" And then just almost not believing it, but then seeing Mike's face walking away from that scene there where he knew that, and that, wow, he definitely had sympathy for, and empathy, truly empathy, not even sympathy, empathy for Nacho Varga. Just to see that look on his face of what he did for his family, like I suppose Mike is doing for his family as well. I mean, wow. I mean, wow. What an episode. I mean, at first when that episode was going on, I'm like, all right, a lot of setup here, a lot of plot development, a lot of storyline setup here. But yeah, definitely wasn't expecting that at the end of this episode for sure. So do you think the vacuum guy would have helped Nacho and his dad? Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too cynical here, but and I don't want to ruin the sort of romanticism of this storyline, but I feel like, if Nacho's dad just listened to him and said, we gotta we gotta go to Canada, I feel like they'd both be alive. And maybe it's no way to live. Maybe they'd always be constantly living in fear of the cartel finding them if they ran, or Gus Fring finding them if they ran. But what talk about, I mean, wow. Talk about an unbelievably tragic storyline. Almost like, really, I mean, operatic is such the right word for it that Michael Mando said at Paley Fest. I mean, this almost seems akin to like a Shakespeare tragedy that I didn't really understand in high school. I mean, this is what it really kind of seems like this. The storyline of Nacho is just an unbelievably tragic parable, and much more sort of tragic than even Jesse Pinkman's. I mean, Jesse Pinkman, I mean, that was a sort of a happy ending compared to, I mean, it was. I mean, he got a sort of fairy tale send off, I mean, a lot of things around him went to shit for sure with Andrea, and, with what happened to him, being, under kidnapped by Jack Walker for months. But I mean, compared to what happened to Nacho Varga, I mean, that's like a Disney movie compared to Jesse Pinkman's storyline now compared to Nacho Varga's. So yeah, it's unbelievable how this show. I mean, some Flavier saying Gus is a snake. It's just unbelievable this entire series. How even like the way they can just take characters and you just have so much sort of sympathy and empathy for them. Like someone like Walter White, the person who started this entire universe, and there's just so much empathy for his character when you see him being this man who was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer and just him having done nothing with his life. And there's so much sympathy for everything he's doing. But then as the story progresses, there's not as much empathy at all for these characters. And definitely, the way it's true, Flavia, I definitely see Gus Fring in a different light for now, a different light, excuse me. And, as, altruistic as maybe he came across people like Mike Ehrmantraut, I mean, he's very self-servient as well, if that's a term. He cares about everyone has a big ego here, all these characters, and they care about their own interests, And at the end of the day, Gus Fring was just a pawn in his game against the cartel. So I don't know if he'll shed a tear for Nacho Varga like Mike Ehrmantraut did. And I do wonder, we did see in the next episode of season 6 of Better Call Saul, where we see Gus Fring's security system. And we did see that teaser of Gus Fring returning home. And I definitely think we'll see Gus Fring return home after a day at Los Pollos Hermanos, but after everything that just transpired in this episode. And I definitely think we will see his sort of reaction to everything that just happened. So, yeah, for sure. Yeah, unbelievable. Was the opening scene Nacho's grave? Interesting, Chris. I do wonder, and that definitely was that location was definitely the sort of, I don't even know what you would call that, a sort of cabin or somewhere out in the Albuquerque wilderness. I believe that's the same place where Jimenez died as well. I'm almost positive that is. I am positive that's where Jimenez died. So it was a callback to the end of season 2 of Better Call Saul. So it looked like Mike was sad. I didn't see a tear. Yeah, I was more sort of figurative tears. Yeah, he definitely looked sad. I couldn't see it. I don't think he was actually crying, but the look on his face was just, absolute distress. There was definitely emotional empathy for Nacho Varga there for sure. And, I don't think he shed a tear for Werner Ziegler as well. But again, 2 very tough deaths for Mike Ehrmantraut and really sort of just displaying to him how far he's willing to go in working for Gus Fring. So, yeah, like it's like you think like, oh, Werner Ziegler, that was it. That was the one real tough thing that Mike had to do. But, I feel like that, I wouldn't say it pales in comparison, but wow, I mean, just with what happened to Nacho Varga as well, that was something. That was absolutely something. So again, yeah, that pretty much sums up the episode here. I mean, I can't stop thinking about what just happened. I'm sort of after being about, it's been about an hour since the episode ended, and I'm starting to sort of accept it, but still in a little bit of a denial here. So that was a big piece of glass. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how he cut the zip tie. So 10 out of 10 episode, one show. I would agree. I would agree for sure. So it's sad to know that Mike never went out on his own terms. Yeah, it's true. I've talked about that. Pretty tragic storyline of Mike Ehrmantraut as well. So who followed Jimmy from the Kettlemans again? I'm not sure. Definitely that's definitely going to factor in now in the remainder of the season. Now that Nacho is his storyline is seemingly concluded with outside of potential flashbacks. But again, there were some speculations in that previous live stream about maybe it's Howard's PI or something to that effect, or someone following them. But we definitely saw that on the next episode of season 6 of Better Call Saul, Kim affronts someone and says, "Are you following me?" So again, no idea who was following them. Definitely doesn't look like it was Mike. No way it was Mike or anything. I don't think it was anyone having to do with Gus Fring's storyline at all. So I'm going to find a pillow to scream in, Jake Sanchez. Damn. Are you going to keep doing these lives after episode? Yeah, Nick, that's the intention. And hopefully I don't delete all of them also by accident like I talked about in my previous live stream. Oh, bit of good news. I talked to someone at a YouTube support, and apparently they may try to help me restore those 4 live streams that hopefully there's a happy ending to all of this. I'm not going to, count my chickens here, but hopefully those live streams get restored. So that was a big error on my part, kind of new to this whole streaming thing. So Literally ends with Hector shooting Nacho in the face, gunshot sound once the credit rolls. Yeah, I mean, he's dead. He's absolutely dead. I mean, wow, man. I know we haven't even seen the whole Gene Tagovic timeline yet either, Justin. That's true. So yeah, no half measures, Tim. That's definitely a good point. I feel like Mike didn't sort of live by that creed. I definitely think back to Lydia Redart Quayle, and he probably should have shot her in the face, and he took a half measure there for sure. And I definitely remember. I think Jonathan Banks talked about it after reading that script initially. He was like, "Wait a minute, what? No, what about no half measures?" And I mean, I think the point of that his character was that he took that I suppose half measure in hindsight, because he wanted to still support his family, and he realized that if he shot Lydia Redart Quayle in the face there, their methylamine supply would have been nothing, and nothing would have been able to come of Walter White's meth empire. I mean, they would have been smurfing cold pills, as he said. Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, Mike should have listened to himself and took those half measures. So, man, can't hear anything you're saying. Are you saying that because my voice is so damn loud? I know, Dan. Seriously, you are not the first person to tell me that. I have a damn loud voice. So, I'm breaking up the stream. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's definitely something happening here with the signal, unfortunately. So, yeah, hold on. Let me see if I can try to fix it. I'll be right back. Excuse me. The stream quality, not the best. So we'll see if I can fix it here. Hold on. That should help. I mean, signal's back. I mean, I'm not streaming off the same computer I was yesterday. So yeah, I apologize for that. So yeah, I hope the signal's better now. So sorry about that. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I guess it's all part of it, I suppose. So yeah, sorry, I wasn't. I think the signal should be better now. So I mean, yeah. So again, I'm gonna have to take some time to reflect on this for sure. Definitely will. I don't even know. I mean, I guess. I mean, I feel like there's really the only video that comes to mind is definitely the sort of Nacho's death for sure. So you thought he would get away, man. You really thought he'd get away. So wow. Oh man, I mean, just unbelievable episode. I mean, I haven't really even got a chance to see what people are saying, on Reddit and stuff like that. So definitely we'll check that out as well. So it's just it's unreal. So I know that's a great point, Dan. I mean, I talked about that a little bit earlier about how it wasn't me, it was Ignacio. How is that going to factor in? I mean, talk about Mike Ehrmantraut being exactly right when he said, it's not going to go down the way you think it is. I don't even know how that's going to factor in now. Like, how does Nacho even factor in when he's dead in the third episode? I mean, that's such a great point. So I have no idea. I may have to talk about that as well. So I agree completely. So I mean, unreal, absolutely unreal. Whoo, man. Yeah, Saul's in the dark with everything that goes on with Mike and Gus. Yeah, that's a great point, Kickflip. I mean, I don't know what he's talking about in hindsight. I mean, it seems so obvious in hindsight. You thought it would have something to do with Nacho and Saul somehow, conversing with what happened at Lalo's Hacienda. But after, what happened at the end of this episode, throw that out the window. Throw that idea out the window. So, wow. Salvatore fuel. Damn. Again, it is what it is with the way the characters look. I mean, Gus Fring looks a lot older than he does in the plot of Breaking Bad. I mean, He definitely has his hair dye, I think, for just sort of, continuity purposes where he can't have white hair now, but I think he looks a lot older, but it is what it is. We all age. I mean, it's all part of it. I don't think it undermines the story at all. So it definitely paints his character in a much different light for sure. But wow. Can't believe we've been talking for Nacho for an hour already. Yeah. I mean, pretty unbelievable episode. Definitely gonna have to think about this a little bit. It's all the Spice Girls. Damn, nice pull, Matthew Sanchez. The damn, that is funny. Damn. Yeah, speaking of Todd kickflip, I do hope we see Jesse Plemons. I do hope Thomos Pest and Jesse Plemons factors in this plot as well. I did look at a picture of Jesse Plemons lately, and he still looks about the same as he did in El Camino. So I guess we can sort of just pretend that I'm blanking on his Todd lost a lot of weight until the plot of Breaking Bad meets up with the timeline of Better Call Saul. And it's crazy to think there's only 10 episodes left in this ride. It's unbelievable. And we're still in the year 2004. We're not really any closer to the timeline meeting up with Breaking Bad. And part of me really thinks that, we're part of me again, I should really stop speculating here because no one knows what they're talking about. No one knows what is going to happen here. We can only speculate, but part of me wonders if this whole story isn't even meant to meet up with Breaking Bad. Who knows? Maybe we'll end in 2004. Maybe we won't even get up to the year 2008 somehow. Maybe we'll end with Saul being who he was years before he met Walter White, and maybe we'll see Walter White in a flashback or something like that. Again, rampantly speculating. No one knows what they're talking about. No one knows what they're talking about. No channel that talks about Better Call Saul knows what we're all just speculating. And it's incredibly fun to do, but just after seeing this episode today, I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock. It will meet up with Breaking Bad guaranteed. Definitely possible, man. I think someone could have said Nacho is not going to die in the third episode guaranteed, and I would have believed that. So we'll see, though. I think it's definitely possible. So I know the twist will change how we view Breaking Bad. Yeah, relax and sleep. I've definitely talked about that. I definitely am starting to think that Saul Goodman is just a persona. I made a whole video about that and, about how, Jimmy is still Jimmy, but when he goes to work, he puts on his sort of Saul Goodman persona. And there's that great scene that I know that they've talked about in an episode of the Insider podcast for Better Call Saul in season 4 of Breaking Bad. The episode is slipping my mind. I don't want to say which one it was, but Andrea's house, and we see him talking with Jesse Pinkman in the car saying, I don't mind dropping off checks every week like Ed McMahon, but if you want to see how she and her Brock are doing, why don't you go see for yourself? And that demeanor in that scene, I know we're retroactively using it to sort of, justify the storyline that they're likely going to craft, but it really seems to me that like in hindsight, Saul was shedding his, Saul persona and was really sort of acting like Jimmy more there. So it'll be very interesting to see that transformation for sure. So this is not about Breaking Bad. Yeah, I'm starting to agree, man. I think it's not about meeting up with Breaking Bad. Again, I don't know for sure, but it's starting to seem that way. It's starting to really seem like the premise of meet up with the timeline of Breaking Bad. So relax and sleep. That's quite a plot twist there. Honestly, after watching this episode, I wouldn't put anything past anyone. So Breaking Bad season 6, I haven't heard anything about that, Justin. Ooh, man. Again, still a little bit in shock. So yeah, just man. Salvatore, yeah, it's an interesting point with Walter White. They're definitely gonna appear, and I don't know how. Again, I definitely don't know how at this rate, but again, maybe you'll have to something to do with Saul Goodman's, storyline within the timeline of Breaking Bad. Sort of flash forward to that. Maybe something to do with Brock. I've just speculated, but again, I have no idea. So I don't know if that's true, William Wyatt, but I'll take your word for it. If again, that's interesting if that's true. So I haven't seen anything like that, but I guess it's possible where the timelines aren't going to meet up exactly. Again, it almost seems a little bit too good to be true. That's sort of what I was saying earlier. So I want Skyler and Walter Jr. to appear. Man, that's an interesting point, the King, about the first half. Yeah, I don't see us. I mean, with what 53 episodes now, basically being about 2 years, and we have to go 4 years and 10 episodes to meet up with the timeline of Breaking Bad. So, yeah, I don't know if we're gonna see that, but yeah, I definitely don't think we'll see Gene until the first part of season of into the first episode of part two. Again, just speculating. Who knows? But yeah, so ooh, man. Oh, Chris, yeah, actually going back to that time, going back to that stream I did that was accidentally deleted. I see what you're saying now about you mentioned something about it has nothing to do with this episode, but it has something with paralleling Werner's story to Walter White's with Mike's about how he let them both have a phone call before he was supposed to kill them. So I definitely see what you meant there in hindsight. So yeah, I went back and looked at that live chat. So I see what you're saying there. So I apologize for misunderstanding that when I read that. So I don't know about the last 2 episodes, but I definitely think we could see a Gene episode. It makes sense to me, so I don't know about the last 2 episodes, but I think we could get 1 episode maybe. Or I've talked about this too. I mean, I feel like 1 scene is not enough to wrap up the Gene storyline. At least it doesn't seem that way. So who knows? Maybe we'll get a whole Gene episode. The very next, no, we're not. I mean, they already show us what we're gonna see, but maybe we'll get a Gene intro scene in the next episode. Who knows? So, ooh man. So, ooh man. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I'm still gonna have to reflect on this a little bit more for sure with what happened with Nacho at the end of this episode. So a lot of story left to tell, despite the fact that it appears that Nacho's storyline is over, and definitely gonna have to reflect a little bit on what I just watched. So definitely planning on making some videos over the course of this week for sure. Definitely, like I said earlier in the stream, hope to get those live streams I accidentally deleted restored so people can, see those again if they want. But why the glasses though? I mean, come on. If Doctor Disrespect can wear glasses all the time to live stream, I'm pretty sure I can too. So, but anyway, yeah, I'm gonna end it here. It is what it is. Quite the episode. So yeah, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. This was not what I expected at all, but it was quite the episode. So yep, I appreciate it. Definitely planning on yeah, easier on the eyes. I agree to cover up my ugly face. Exactly, kick flip, like Howard Stern said. The biggest sunglasses possible to cover up my ugly face. Exactly. So there you go. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Um, I Yep, that's it. I'm kind of rambling on here. So really appreciate it. Really looking forward to making more episodes and more videos this week, and can't wait to see what happens in the final 10. So I will see you guys around. Can't wait to see what everyone's saying online, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in for sure. This was quite the episode. It was great to unpack it and just see what everyone else was saying initially after it aired. So I will see you guys around. I'll plan on making a couple more videos in the days to come. Definitely about Nacho for sure. And yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night.